Hello, and welcome to this month's episode of the Distance Learning Roundtable show on the Incandescent Radio Network and Incandescent TV. I'm Hope Katz-Gibbs, producer of the show, where experts gather to discuss the future of online education. It's an honor to introduce the show's host. Pat Cassella is the executive director of the U.S. Distance Learning Association, which we lovingly call USDLA. And Dean Hoke is the managing partner of the international organization Edu Alliance. Today's guest is a superstar. Dr. Robert Alsop is the president of Waldorf University, located in beautiful Forest City, Iowa. You can meet him at the upcoming USDLA National Conference in Orlando, July 17th to the 20th. Check it out, usdla.org. And today's topic is Waldorf University's new degree, where students can get a Master of Education in Social Emotional Learning. I can't wait to hear all about it. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Dean.
Well, very good. Well, Robert, number one, thank you for being on the show. And let me do a little bit of historical background on you and some of the things that we're going to talk about. You're the 16th president of Waldorf University, and you began your duties back in 2011. In 2020, Robert started working with a world-renowned educator and founder of the Freedom Writers Program Foundation by the name of Erin Gruwell, alongside lifelong educator Dr. Frida Braddock, to develop the program we're going to talk a lot about today, the Waldorf Master of Education in Social Emotional Learning. A firm believer in SEL, Dr. Alsop has a passion for educating the whole student, and he provides a place for Erin's original class of students to achieve, resulting in a world-class SEL graduate program. It's a very powerful partnership between several thought leaders worldwide in the K-12 and higher ed online space. Dr. Alsop is a graduate of Concordia College with a BA in English Language and Literature, MA and PhD in English Language and Literature, except I don't speak it very well, there seems to be, from Southern Illinois University. He's a husband and a father who loves jazz and is a drummer, which we're going to talk about later. Bob, welcome, and we're delighted to have you with us. And I'm going to turn over to Pat for the first question.
Thanks, Dean. Bob, I have to say, yesterday I was actually watching MASH on MeTV, and I saw a Waldorf University commercial. So I'm just going to put that out there. You're getting great coverage, okay? Getting fantastic coverage. I know the university has really traditional roots, right? A university is over 100 years old. It's located in a beautiful small town in Iowa and was founded by Norwegian Lutherans. Yet Waldorf is an early pioneer in education, online education. You offer multiple degrees online, including 4 individual Master of Education programs for teachers and administrators. What led Waldorf towards that emphasis on online learning at the beginning?
First, let me thank you for the opportunity to come on your program. It's a real honor for me, and this is a topic very close to my heart, and a relationship that developed with Erin and the Freedom Writers, and who I've gotten to know many of them so well, and it's so inspiring to be a part of this project. And it just works so well because of Waldorf's experience and expertise in the online modality. You're absolutely right. I mean, we come from very traditional roots, and in the upper Midwest where we are, you can't get more traditional than Norwegian and Lutheran, right? But we had the opportunity with partners back in 2009, 2010, with an ownership group to really broaden our mission into the online space. And that was really important because they had experience going way back with distance education, even going back to correspondence, and then developing into that online, and really understood the needs of the online students, the demographic of the online students, and how you use that online modality so those students can be successful. So they are achieving the same learning objectives as our campus students, but it's an understanding of what opportunities you have with that online modality. And for us, that was a revelation.
Just we've done this with many different university presidents and whatnot. Some are newer schools, some are older schools. So it's always good to see and hear, how did it start with some of the older schools there. Dean, I'm going to turn it over to you for a second question.
Yeah, you've taken traditional route, you moved into online at a fairly early stage of the development of online. But furthermore, you've also moved into a whole different area with your work with Erin. And in particular, as I understand, in 2021, you and Erin, who has one of the best-selling books in the field, The Freedom Writer's Diary, partnered to offer specialized Freedom Writers courses to the original students who inspired the book. I'd like to hear about this collaboration more so. I'd like to hear about how you two connected to each other and how this evolved. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it actually goes back to 2018, early in 2018, a mutual friend introduced us and said, I think you guys would enjoy working with one another. And so I had this phone call with Erin, and I'll be honest, I had not read the book at that point. I had not seen the movie, but we had this phone call with an amazing connection to it, both in some of the things that we had taught in our careers and where our passions were, and where we saw the real value of education and in the way that it can transform not only an individual's life, but it can be generational. It can impact their entire family. And so Erin and I just, over time, maintaining our friendships and our contacts and our passion of how do we reach more and more people with this. And we came up with a number of initiatives. Part of it was, how do we, for those original freedom writers that wrote those diary entries, and who many people said they're not going to graduate high school, but all of them did. Many of them went on to post-secondary education. Some did other things. Some graduated college, some didn't. How do we provide, education, get them through? So we developed a special scholarship program to make sure that they could complete their degree at Waldorf. And then we started looking at what can we do with Waldorf's expertise, particularly with online education, to reach more and more teachers and administrators. Dr. Braddock is a faculty member at Waldorf. Sent her to the Institute. She got caught up in all of this as well, and is an amazing scholar and professor, and just became so passionate about what we're trying to accomplish. She and Erin worked together on the curriculum and building the courses and all of that. And again, it's very gratifying to be a part of that entire project.
Pat?
No, thanks, Dean. Bob, we're looking forward to meeting the Waldorf team at the USDLA conference in July. It's going to be fantastic. I've been in distance learning for a long time on the technical side. I know you've been providing online degree programs for quite a while now. Give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a profile on your online student population as they exist today, and what differences are you seeing how they were 10 years ago? Let's go back 10 years ago. Is there a difference between what you're seeing today and what you saw 10 years ago?
For our online students, tend to be non-traditional students in terms of their age. 37 years is the average age of our online student. Most of them are employed full-time or in the military. They have families. They have the busyness of adulting going on around them. And so they need that flexibility of the online experience to do their studies it's absolutely inspiring talking to our online students of what they do to complete their degree. So, and you know this, but I think there's a perception of what is the connection like between an online student and the institution that they graduate from. And our online students are passionate warriors. We're the Waldorf warriors, and they bleed purple and gold, our colors, and it is amazing to be around them. That hasn't changed over the last 10 years, but I think coming out of the pandemic and being part of the pandemic, that was, and this is counterintuitive when to people, and people are kind of surprised when I say that the pandemic had more of an impact on our online students than it did our residential students. And we're a small residential student body of about 650 students here. We were able to manage the pandemic pretty well here. And those students really wanted to be on campus and have that college experience. Our online students, with that demographic, their lives were tossed in complete disarray. Not saying that didn't happen to our residential students, but they have all kinds of concerns going on. Now their kids are at home using the computer for their education. They're trying to deal with anxiety of what's going to happen with my job, with my career, and a part of just that kind of reprioritization that I think almost all of us gone through that through the pandemic. And where does my education now fit with that? That's been the biggest change that I've seen in the last 10 years as it pertains to our online students.
Thanks for sharing that, Bob. I can definitely see that. Dean, I'm going to turn it to you for another question on the volley.
Well, Bob, we've been talking about the students and what they've gone through, the type of students that they are. They're not the traditional 18 to 22s. But at the same time, let's also talk a little bit about faculty and the type of faculty that teach them, and maybe some of the unique challenges that a faculty member who does online. Do you have a training program? What's the approach of Waldorf, particularly from a faculty point of view? How do they handle, they just took on one of the biggest crises that I can think of. I'm very curious about how faculty approaches them, but tell me about them.
Yes, so we have wonderful, amazing faculty, and that's, I think, why we have that loyalty from our students is the faculty and staff experience that they get as an online student at Waldorf. And some of our campus faculty also teach online, but we are also able to recruit faculty who I don't know why anyone would not want to relocate to rural North Iowa, but there are some people that prefer to be around beaches or large cities or things like that, and we respect that. And now they can be a Waldorf faculty member. Erin Gruwell out in Long Beach, California, can be a faculty member for us now. So we're able to really broaden our reach in recruiting faculty into our online program. And a lot of them really have amazing backgrounds in terms of practitioners in their field, not only scholars, but practitioners in their field, like Erin Gruwell, for example. And so they can create those relationships with our students while they're have their toes in the sand at the beach. But they have that same type of commitment, whether they're on campus or online, to our student experiences. So we do have orientation, so they understand Waldorf's history and roots, and how that continues to inform who we are today and what our mission is. So that's vital, that they really understand what is particular about that Waldorf experience so they can deliver that to our students.
Very good. Pat, over to you.
Thanks, Dean. Bob, we've been talking a lot about the past. We've talked a little bit about, current with online students and faculty and whatnot. Let's take a look into the future a little bit, right? This is always one of those questions I like to hear from all the different university presidents. What's on their mind when we think, the next 3 to 5 years, right? Let's just keep it in a narrow span right there. What do you think it's going to look like, especially for private universities, right? What's education, what's higher education, what's your school going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So the first word that comes to mind to me is partnerships. Partnerships are going to be critical in preparing and serving our students. The model going forward, and in some ways it borrows from the community college model, is listening to what employers want and needs, because it changes so quickly now, and involving them in the construction of the curriculum even as well, and even in the classes. And the online modality in particular suits itself to that model, where you have subject experts, you have your instructional design team, and then now if you're bringing in a potential partner to that mix as well, you can really ensure that you're providing what is necessary for that student to take their next steps after graduation.
Do you see the partnerships as just being local partnerships, or do you see, hey, I've got to look well beyond my backyard here?
Well, I don't know if this would qualify for a backyard or not, but we've had a relationship with the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Industry out of Jamaica. So so going from the white snow of winter in northern Iowa to the white sands all the time in Jamaica, we had kind of a loose partnerships, but with them on some of our degree programs. But when the pandemic hit, it hit Jamaica really hard, and they had to go to remote learning, and they didn't have a lot of skills in that. But we had a number of students in our Master of Education department that communicated with the Ministry of Education saying, Waldorf is pretty good at this. They might be able to provide some training for our teachers. So we very quickly built some webinars and training sessions for their teachers that help them transition from the classroom teaching to remote teaching and the best practices that come with that.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a strong believer there on the partnerships, and that's a way this country is going to increase our productivity, or yes, the whole world is going to increase the productivity. Mm-hmm. Dean, on to you.
Well, this will be the last question, but we're going to go a little bit off the rails here, I think, just a little bit. This is the investigative journalism division of our show. Bob, you sound about as Midwestern as there is. You're almost as much Midwestern as I am. I'm from Ohio, from the rural parts. I know that Midwest sensibility, the ethics, which are greatly admired, by the way, throughout the world. And you've been focused in higher education your entire life. I mean, that's where you started, liberal arts, as you said, all the way through. You have likes and interests, but they're fairly usual, I think. I mean, it's football, it's cards, it's golf. But not quite everything's the same. And I'd like to know an answer to this. I noticed that you're a drummer. Now, I know band drummers, marching band drummers, but you're a jazz drummer, I think, and maybe a little bit more than a jazz drummer. Mm-hmm. Maybe a bit of grunge to you. I'm not quite sure. You played for a group called the Squirrels from Hell?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to know more about that. Tell me about this experience, and how does a president become a jazz drummer become a president? I'm curious about this. Tell me.
Well, specifically to the squirrels, you won't find much about them anywhere else except from the members. Where one of my college bands was a punk band called Squirrels from Hell. Previously, it was 3 Days Growth. Played in a pop band called Fractured Image at the time as well, and have always enjoyed being a part of musical groups. Like you said, in particular, I've played a lot of jazz, which actually landed my first job at Waldorf in the English department. Here, I was getting ready to for my phone interview and had all my notes prepared on my teaching philosophy and my scholarship and all of that, and get on the phone call, and the first question out of the gate is, we have a pretty good handle on your teaching philosophy and your scholarship. Tell us something else about you. And so I was not prepared for that. So I'm roaming all around and happened to land on, and I'm a drummer. I play quite a bit, and there's this laughter going on in the room. And I said, what's so funny? And he said, well, we have a jazz combo on campus, a faculty jazz combo called Rank and Tenure. And I said, oh, really? I said, do you need a drummer? And they said, yes. And I said, well, thank you very much. And that was the end of the interview. No, we completed the interview, but I think that that helped me along the way. And it happened that 3/4 of the members of that jazz combo were on the search committee as well. So that really helped me out.
As a quick follow-up to that, there is a little bit more serious side to the whole question about jazz and drumming and all these kind of other things and doing other things. Drummer is usually the heartbeat of a band.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn? Did you take an experience? Did you take any of that experience with you as into university besides just drumming? Did you learn something from that that's helped you in your career?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a model of leadership. Particularly with playing with jazz combos. The drummer has the loudest instrument. There, we can wreak havoc if we want to, but that's really not the goal. Particularly in jazz, yeah, you have a little time for maybe a little drum solo here or there, but largely your role is to make the other members of the band better. My idea of effective leadership is that, particularly when you hold the title of president, there's a certain idea of you get to do what you want and all that, but that's really not the role of leadership. The role of leadership is to help others be the best that they can be, to try your best to find resources that they can be the most effective they can for their students, to find ways to be around, to inspire, to advocate for, to lift up our students, and invariably the best part of my day is when I get to interact with a student, whether that's through an email, whether it's going to a music concert or a basketball game or something like that, and getting to interact with students and talk about those experiences afterwards. That's what I always enjoy.
That's great. Well, we're about ready to wrap up. A very quick comment to you, by the way. You made me change my mind about something. I work with a lot of colleges and universities. I'm now going to ask that all presidents take at least 2 or 3 courses in drumming so that they can learn a little bit more about leadership.
Maybe I could develop a course on drumming and leadership in there.
I've got the person to do it. Oh, to you.
Thank you, Pat, Dean, and Bob. That was another fascinating conversation on the Distance Learning Roundtable. We look forward to seeing you, Bob, at the U.S. Distance Learning National Conference in Orlando, July 17th to 20th. Check it out, usdla.org. I'm Hope Katz-Gibbs, producer of the show on the Incandescent Radio Network and Incandescent TV. This is our June episode, and we look forward to bringing you the July episode as well, starring Erin. So she will be with us next month, and we can't wait to see all and hear all about that. So thank you all. We will see you soon. Be well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hope.